Welcome back to the big picture. 4th of July is almost here, and people get a little excited, I would say. They like, launching stuff earlier than the 4th of July.
Yeah, and, people love to do their own fireworks displays, and most people, when they do them, they buy them.
Right.
Some people...
they get a little crazy,
yeah,
and they like to make them at home.
They do. But also, there are some safety things to keep in mind when it comes to lighting off consumer fireworks at home, the ones that you buy, whether that be from Shelton or somebody else. Anyway, we are talking today with the Fire Prevention Bureau. Anita Metheny joins us from the Ohio Fire Marshal's office. Anita, thanks for joining us. When it comes to consumer fireworks that people are lighting off at home for their family get-togethers, what are some of the biggest mistakes people are making with these?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Things that happen when fireworks are involved, and one of them is just not taking the due regard to be safe when you're setting them off. A lot of times we get a little excited, we set them off too close to our homes, and sometimes those things can, they don't always fly completely straight, and sometimes they can hit into a shed or into a porch or something like that and catch fire. And we want to definitely avoid that from happening. So just keeping a good space between the fireworks and anything that is combustible, I think is the first thing. And a lot of things, a lot of the fires that we see also are from people not extinguishing their fireworks well. And after, you set up those fireworks, we want you to have a big old bucket available that's full of water and that you can just soak those fireworks in and just make sure that they're completely out before you throw those away. Those fireworks have a lot of chemicals in them, and they retain that heat, and they retain all of those sparks in the very bottom of that firework for some time. And so, putting them in that bucket is super, super important. And just being safe. I know that this is a holiday, and we want to have a great fun and party, but we want you to do so responsibly. And so, please don't light fireworks when you're impaired in any way, and just take some due regard for them.
Absolutely. And we know last year, homemade fireworks that did cause a deadly home explosion in Liberty Township. What lessons should Ohioans take away from that?
Well, I think the first lesson first and foremost is fireworks are great when we set them off. They look wonderful, but there is a long process that manufacturers go through to make sure that these are not only wonderful, beautiful, gorgeous, but they're also safe to handle until the time where they are set off. And so making those things at home is a very bad idea. These people are licensed, they have lots of training with that, and making fireworks at homes is extremely deadly. Realistically, we discourage anybody from even having the products that it takes to make the fireworks in your home because they are so volatile and so dangerous.
And then when it comes to folks purchasing, whether that be roadside stands, wherever, and they suspect maybe that a seller is selling illegal fireworks, things that have not been vetted, tested, gone through the proper processes, what should they do?
Well, I would encourage everybody, when you go to buy fireworks, go to a licensed dealer, make sure that they are licensed, make sure that you're not buying them from a roadside stand, because if those fireworks are made in somebody's garage or basement, we need to remember that they may not even be safe to transfer to your home. We don't even want you to put those in a vehicle. And so make sure you're going to an actual licensed firework dealer. The price is right when we focus on safety first.
Absolutely. And there's certain laws and certain times of the day where people should be lighting off fireworks. What are those so people don't get citations or break those violations?
I do not have those readily in front of me, but they are permitted to light off fireworks usually until midnight of the first, and around the holiday. And I apologize, I don't have those in front of me. That's
It's okay.
more of a code enforcement thing. But the most important part is around the holiday, you usually have a day on either side of that on the weekend, and then the following weekend, but not past that.
Okay. And before we let you go, I know May was Older Americans Month, and you guys sent out a release about how seniors can stay safe in their homes from fires and making sure like their smoke alarms have batteries in them. What other tips do you have for older Ohioans when it comes to fire prevention?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked that question because our fatalities in 2026 are actually very high right now. And we're finding that the majority of our fatalities throughout 25 and 26 actually involve our older Ohioans over 60. And so, the first thing is ask for help. We want those folks to have working smoke alarms in their homes. In smoke alarms have an expiration date, and so we need to make sure that those are within 10 years and that they have a working battery. Even if they're a sealed battery, we want you to test those every single month. Fire departments can come and help you install those, and if they can't, you can always call our office and we'll make sure that somebody comes out and get you a working smoke alarm. But one of the highest causes that we have found in 25 and 26 of our older Ohioans dying in fire is from smoking on oxygen. And it seems to be an epidemic throughout the entire nation right now. Multiple people are smoking while they're on oxygen. And, there's some misconceptions. Well, oxygen says it's not flammable. And unfortunately, it might not be flammable, but it is an oxidizer. And what it does is it enhances flame in any environment. And so once they light a lighter to light that cigarette, there's a flame that happens. The clothes catch on fire. The fire spreads down the oxygen tubing. And wherever that tubing is going to catch on fire. And so if it's coming from one room to another, now that whole entire room is going to catch on fire. And so we want to just give some due regard. Smoke alarms. Please don't smoke on oxygen. And, call your fire department for a home fire safety inspection.
And, you mentioned smoking with oxygen. There's also, situations of clutter that get in the way when it comes to having these conversations with whether they be your parents or your grandparents about how to keep themselves, safer in fire scenarios. How would you recommend approaching that conversation? How do you talk to a parent about saying, "Hey, I want you to be safe"?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. I personally take care of my elder mother, and it, it's harder in our older ages to move things around, get them where we want them. Sometimes, we're forgetful or what have you. And I think the biggest thing is to focus on the things that are really important. Egress paths. Make sure that there is a clear exit path from wherever they normally hang out or wherever they frequent often in the home to how they can get out of the house quickly. Make sure that there is a clear exit path and just encourage, I just encourage my mom daily. Let's not hold on to things that we're not going to use. Let's move that stuff out. Let's put it in a storage or get it out of the way because it's super, super important that we have a clear area to get out of the home. And, those combustibles around heaters or extension cords, things like that, all cause a fire hazard. And so we definitely want to make sure that we're focusing on those things.
Okay. Anita Metheny from the Ohio Fire Marshals, thank you so much for coming on today. We appreciate it. Good tips there.
Thank you for
Yeah.
having me.
Yeah.